Good evening. Starting a little bit late because I forgot to install this game. Luckily, my internet speed's fast enough to download the game in time, so it's only what, 10 minutes late. I had to get the settings configured. So we have a couple of news articles, and then we can add additional news articles if needed. I guess we'll just go ahead and max everything, and then we'll set this down to like minus 14, I guess. I'm your favorite streamer? Really? Okay. Alright, let's do, I guess matchmaking will be global. Although that means it'll probably be a ton of lag. You know what? Let's go ahead and just do... we'll just leave it on global for now. Enter the pilot name. We'll just go with Game Tech Reviews. How about that? Hey, Hades. Alright, we're gonna start this, and we do have some news articles. So we will get into that. Oh, I'm literally on top of the loading screen or the loading bar.
We're close to Rubicon. Wake the dog up.
Handler Walter verified.
So I'm going in blind. I've watched like one review. I think I've watched one review of this game.
4621 has awakened.
And it's pretty good. I mean, the game got like an 8 out of 10. So it seems pretty interesting. For those that are expecting Elden Ring, I think they're going to be disappointed, because this is no Elden Ring. We'll see how... It's funny how this game's coming out. This is a sci-fi game. And Starfield's coming out soon. And Baldur's Gate came out before this game. So this part of the year is where it starts getting really crazy in terms of game releases. Man, that audio is loud. I don't know. Is the game audio way too loud for the chat? Ooh, they hit the my Xbox 360 controller is like vibrating like crazy. It's a From Software game. You have to be playing it on a controller, because keyboard and mouse and From Software do not mix. Okay. I want to get past this little prologue.
Descent to ISB 2262, Rubicon 3, complete.
We're going to go to the tutorial. Now, I've never played an Armored Core game before, so I have no idea what to expect.
There's a catapult ahead. Use it to close the gap.
So I don't know if this game actually has, like, humans in it,
System activating combat mode.
or if it's all about being a robot, and who knows, you're like, maybe by the time the game is at the end, you realize that you're in the metaverse and none of this is real, it's all simulation. Oh, that's cool. So hold on a second. So I've never played an Armored Core game before, but I have played a few Gundam games in the past. I've played a few of them, so let me see if okay. Flying is exactly the same as it is in a Gundam game. Let me see if the boost... Okay, the boost is also similar, although it's a little bit weightier. Gundam definitely feels faster and floatier. This game definitely feels more grounded in the controls. I definitely feel like there's a sense of weight to my mecha, or my mech, and it also feels like... Hold on, let me see if can I glide? Okay. Ooh, that's cool. Ooh, you can like do a zigzag dodge. Yes, this is the 7900 XTX. So we are back in control of the Sapphire Nitro Plus 7900 XTX, for those wondering. Alright, it's telling me, it's giving me keyboard and mouse controls. I would rather it tell me the controller controls. Wish there was a way for it to show me. And for those wondering, these are the set. Oh wait, there's a frame limit. I'm just gonna leave it like this for now, so that the stream doesn't show any screen tearing. But this is what we're running at 4K native. VSync is off. HDR. Actually, strangely enough, when I first turned this game on, it force enabled HDR because I have an HDR monitor, but I did not have HDR set in Windows. So it looked kind of weird to me, so I turned it off. I would have to turn HDR on in Windows, then start the game, then enable HDR, then it will actually look correct. But I didn't feel like exiting out of the game. So everything's on maximum. Let me see. So let's see what the frame limit. Okay, so you do have, this is unique because From Software typically caps their game engine at 60 frames per second. So it's nice that you actually have an option for 90 and 120 FPS. But there is no unlimited frame limit. So I guess I'll try it 120 mode. No upscaling? No. As far as I can say, well, let's see. The detailed settings. Oh, there's ray tracing. This setting, it says right here, this setting only applies to the garage. So I guess we can turn this on. Let's just set this to medium for now, I guess. And then we'll see what happens when we go into the garage. So it looks like ray tracing is a thing, but only in the garage. So when you're out in the world, there is no ray tracing based off of this setting. Hey, Ty. So it doesn't tell me... So we can run this game at up to 120 FPS max. There's no uncap. That's fine. I really wish it would tell me the button mapping on here. So, or it would show it to me on the screen, because it doesn't show this. Hold on, input device settings. Oh, here we go. I want the pad because I'm not playing this on keyboard and mouse. Because it is a From Software game, and if you know anything about From Software games, they are always designed for console controls. You can play them with keyboard and mouse, but it is definitely not the way the game was meant to be played. Let's put it that way. Because it's not like I can't play keyboard and mouse. Like, I play Genshin Impact on keyboard and mouse all the time, and that game is similar to this kind of action style. But let's take one more look at this. So we got anti-aliasing. We don't have any options for SSAO. It's literally just SSAO. There's no HBAO. There's no HDAO or VAO or VXAO. I think VXAO is another one. So it's just screen space, ambient occlusion. Depth of field is max. Motion blur is high. Now, I don't know if I'm going to like the motion blur. I'll keep it on high. This is the default for the maximum preset, but if I don't like this, I'm going to turn this down. Shadows max. Lighting max. Effects max. Sometimes they have an ultra, but yeah, this looks like everything is set to max. It just maxed everything out because we are running this game on a 7900 XTX at 4K native. But there is no FSR. There's no DLSS. There is no XESS or even any sort of built-in upscaler. So we're going to go with this. And let's see how this looks. Okay, so now I want to do boost. Whoa, okay. That's not what I thought it would be. Oh, I see. So jump is what I thought it was. You can fly around. It is a lot like a Gundam game. It feels like a Gundam game. Except I like that there's boost. And then when you run out, you just kind of like land. Okay. I feel like I'm in a giant mech, but the environment is so big that it's like a tiny little human would be so small and insignificant in this facility. Now, I don't know if there's any treasures or anything. Like, I don't know how the levels are set up. We need to get up there somehow. EN, I guess that's energy consumption. Some actions consume EN and are disabled when EN is depleted. EN replenishes rapidly when grounded. You just bought this game waiting for it to download? Yeah, it's so weird. This game's coming out, Starfield's coming out, so we got like 2 sci-fi type games in short succession of each other. Although they're very different games. Oh, well, wait, I didn't mean to do that. Targeting controls. The reticle automatically targets on-screen enemies. When there are multiple enemies, the enemy closest to the center of the screen will be prioritized. Move the camera to change the priority.
Clear out those guard mechs. Perfect chance to test your AC.
Alright, let's go down there. I think there's one over here, right? Oh no, I got him. Is that a planet? So are we... Well, I guess we are on the planet. You saw a review earlier. They said this game is like 40 plus hours, which isn't bad. Yeah, this game, in terms of the length, I expect it to be kind of like Sekiro in terms of length. Target assist. So, okay, this is basically lock-on. This is just like all their other games. Ooh, I like the, I like the melee attack. Multi-lock. Hold RB. Whoops. There's like a gun. That looks like a gun tank. Wait, if I just walk into stuff? So hold on, what if I want to reset the camera? That's not reset the camera, is this? That's not reset the camera either. Repair kits. Okay, so the healing...
Taking damage. Patch it up.
Healing is like,
2 repair kits remaining.
Healing is just like Lies of P and Bloodborne. For those wondering. For those familiar with those games.
See the contaminated city down there? That's where you're landing. Access the catapult.
Oh, down there. Okay. Is there any kind of like secret collectible things that I need to be on the lookout for? Usually action games like this. You know what this game kind of reminds me of? It kind of reminds me of Vanquish. I don't know if anybody in the chat played Vanquish by Sega. That was a third-person shooter. Very story-driven game. This right here is so Gundam. This is so Gundam style.
If we get our hands on Rubicon's coral, we'll make a killing. Plenty for a merc with a fried brain like you to buy their life back.
Okay, so I assume we are playing as a human. We're not playing as a chat GPT.
Enough chat, back to work. Scavenge the AC Rex ahead and find a valid mercenary license. We're illegals here. You'll need ID to operate.
You played some of Vanquish? It kind of does remind me of it. Yeah, the boosting. Like when you hold down circle to boost. Oh wait, quick boost. What's this? Lets you instantly accelerate in any direction, helping you evade attacks or swiftly close in on enemies. Oh, I just knocked all those trees down. Wow, the trees are all evenly cut. Oh wait, I'm not. Am I even shooting them?
Guerrillas from the Liberation Front. Get in the way of our work. Eliminate them.
Assault boost. L during boost, cancel assault boost. Use assault boost to move rapidly. Oh, that's what I was doing. That's actually like the first thing I was doing. You know why? Because for some reason, I instinctively was using the control scheme from a very old game on the original Xbox called Gun Valkyrie. Probably nobody in the chat. I'd be very surprised if anybody in the chat ever played the game called Gun Valkyrie on the original Xbox, not the Xbox One, the actual Xbox. This is a game from like 2002 or 2003, somewhere around there. Gun Valkyrie, like Gun Valkyrie used this same exact boost technique. So you got, so see in this game, you've got your Sekiro / Elden Ring running, which is this. You hold down O and your character basically does a run. You start running fast. That's basically that. You have regular walking speed, you have running speed, and then you have Gun Valkyrie style boosting, like this. That's something from Gun Valkyrie, or at least that's what it reminds me of. Because I've never played an Armored Core game before. So, I like the controls. I like that the world also, it's like, the collision detection is really good. Any kind of random platform, like, I bet I can go over here. See, I can even go over here. So, this is actually a pretty big area. You hope they do some sort of collab armor skin or something? Yeah. Yeah, that would be kind of interesting. With what? With Gundam? Oh, you mean Vanquish? No, I think Gundam. I guess we're going here now.
We're being attacked! Unidentified AC! Return fire!
Oh, I'm out of... Alright, I gotta take him out with a melee. This place looks like it's flooded.
Unidentified AC! Is that a corpse scout?
Shoot first. Ask questions later.
Deal with them, 621.
Oh, I took some damage. Oh, I took a lot of damage, actually. This feels like an old school, like, some of the gameplay makes me think of, like, not just Gundam, but it makes me think of, like, an old school, like, what do you call those games? Like, you know those old Super Nintendo games where you have to, dodge all the bullets and the missiles. It's like a side scroller. Like a vertical side scroller. You know what I'm talking about? Like an arcade shooter. Like a bullet hell. I think that's the genre. Well, I don't know if that's the official name, but like bullet hell genre, where you have to dodge all the projectiles. Oh, that wasn't smart. There's like a gun turret. Where is that? There's like something shooting at me. Oh. A helicopter. Hold on, where am I supposed to go? I'm supposed to go like way over there. I'm like way over here in the back. Is that a... What's this? What is this? Huh? I thought this might have been like an elevator or something. See, look at that. It looks like... Oh, it's some kind of transport. It's some kind of transport device. It's got tank-looking wheels. Okay, so I need to... I guess I can go around... Let me sneak around the back. Let's do that. Oh wait, there's enemies. This is pretty cool. Yeah, from my experience, you can't really go wrong with the From Software games. They know what they're doing. They just know what they're doing. The who? Oh, those big guys. That's a big guy. We're gonna get away from him. Let's hide. Let me see if I can hide from them. What controller do I use? The official, original, wired Xbox 360 controller. That's what I'm using. The old school Xbox 360. Wired, not wireless. So I don't have to worry about batteries. I don't have to worry about, like, dongles or anything. Old school Xbox 360 controller. I mean, you could use Xbox Series X. That would work too. Or even just Xbox One if you have one of those. I want to hide. I want to try to, like, do some stealth. Let's try avoid aggroing unnecessarily. See, what I'm curious to know is if there's any kind of, like, secret treasures or something on the map in corners and stuff like that. Oh. Uh-oh. Oh, there's someone behind me. There. Is that everybody? Alright, let's go to the objective. I need to head over where I'm supposed to go. Where?
Find out who they're working for.
Looks like they've got shields.
Oh wait, what does it do right here? Shields, but I got a blade, so apparently blade is anti-shield. The thing about From Software games too is there's literally no difficulty. Like I mean, you can't adjust the difficulty level. You start the game and it's just one difficulty level and that's it. And then I guess New Game Plus is like hard mode. Is the white bar. So, okay, the middle bar is the boost bar. That's my thrust. See how it's going down as I fly? And then the left bar with the left bar that says AP, that is my actual HP. If that goes to 0, then I die. I think I've got 2 charges of healing items or repair. I got 2 repair packs, so I can heal twice. I have 3. I already used one of them. It's telling me I need to go back that way, so I guess we're actually kind of close. Are we supposed to go? Oh, we're supposed to go here?
Extract the pilot data. I'll analyze it from my end.
What do I do? Oh. License code Thomas Kirk.
This one's already expired. Keep looking. Analyzing.
Okay, Balm Industries. License expires in 12 hours. I don't know what the significance of the license expiring is.
Corp license. Easily traced. Forget it.
Alright, that leaves one more. It's like over there. Huh. What?
AP has 50%.
There's another one, right? I'm like, the scanners are detecting there's 2 more enemies, but oh well. This kind of also reminds you of an old school game called Gunmetal, but they could transform into a plane. Yeah, that's actually a lot like, whoa. That's a lot like Gundam, because Gundams, remember, you know how some Gundams can turn into mobile armors, and that's basically like they're in an airplane mode.
Wait, is that an independent? Destroy it!
You're outnumbered 6-1. Use your missiles.
Man, that's a lot of enemies. Hey, that's cool. My missiles, like, they automatically home in. Okay, I think that's all of them. Nope, there's somebody else. There's another enemy around there. On the other side of the wall. There he is. Monkey Gordo. Independent, last expires 15 days.
Still valid, but the pilot's rank is no good. We can't use this. I've picked up one more wreck, 621. Transmitting marker. Go and check it out.
Hey, that's where I was earlier. That's the pad thing. Vertical catapult. Oh, that's what that is. Well, on the
Use
catapult.
that vertical catapult to get some altitude. That's it. Try accessing the wreck.
I have a feeling this is gonna be a boss fight. This looks so much like it's gonna be a boss fight. Because something caused this crater. I feel like any moment now there's gonna be a metallic cleric beast that like shows up out of nowhere.
Registration number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What?
Yeah, I knew it.
Like they were onto you after all.
Whoa, this thing is huge.
In no mood to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now, they won't have enough to ID you.
AP at 30%.
Whoa, I'm taking so much damage.
AP at 50%.
Hold on, maybe there's a...
Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
Where is it?
AP at 30%.
What the... Wow. I needed to conserve my... Okay, restart from checkpoint. I had to conserve my healing items there. I didn't even have any healing items.
That's it.
Okay, now I have all of my healing items, so... Let's try this again.
Registration number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. In no mood to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now, they won't have enough to ID you.
Oh, I can't go out there? What? That's out of bounds? You know what? How about this? I'll just like stay underneath him.
Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
Oh, what the?
AP at 50%.
There's like homing from the side? How is he flanking me like that? Oh, he's got homing missiles. Oh, what the?
At 30%.
Man, if only I could get up to the thing and like cut it up with the melee. Yeah, I have to redo it. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm going to like hug the boss and just slash at him underneath. I think that's all I need to do. I feel like I don't do much damage at range, so I'm just gonna melee him. I feel like I do way more damage when I'm up close. Like, actually, what I'll do is we'll just wait here. We'll camp him here. Wait, didn't activate? Oh.
Registration number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were on to you after all. I'm in no mood to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now. They
Yeah,
won't
look.
have
See, look how much damage I deal. What?
Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the
Oh.
ground.
2 repair kits remaining. AP at 50%.
Oh man, wow, that hurts.
AP at 50%.
I don't know where those missiles keep coming from. Where is his missiles coming from? Wow, how are they able to flank me like that? Yeah, see, this is so much more effective.
AP at
Melee is so much more effective.
AP at 30%.
Oh, I'm gonna have to redo it. Or maybe not, actually. Hold on. Yeah, I'm gonna have to redo it. I think... Okay. Wait, what? Yeah. Yeah, I think I need to do melee. To do melee like that, you need a fast pursuit. I don't even think I can even change the evasive aerial maneuvers, explosive attacks have a blast radius, even though... Oh, because so it's telling me I need to ascend when the missiles are like targeting me. I can't stay on the ground. This is one of those games that's a lot like Devil May Cry. Once you get the combat down, everything just clicks, and then you just turn into this awesome god tier unit that can't die.
Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were on to you after all. No mood to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now. They won't have enough to ID you.
Oh, what? I got shot.
Use your
Oh, that's so cheap. I can't get him because I go out of bounds, and the boss can go out of bounds.
One repair kit remaining. AP at 50%.
What's up with this boss arena? I keep on hitting out of bounds.
At 30%. At 50%.
Oh, what? I guess I need to stay in the middle. I need to stay behind one of the buildings in the middle of the arena because I keep on trying to slash at him, but he goes out of bounds, and I just hit like an invisible wall.
That's it. Try accessing
That's actually kind of annoying. I know why they do that, because it's basically the fog door where you can't escape the, they make it so you can't escape the boss. That's the only reason why they put barriers.
Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. And no room to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now and they won't have enough to ID you.
Am I hitting another barrier?
AP at 50%. AP at 30%. 2 repair kits remaining. AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
What? I don't even know how that happened. I guess I need to either there's two ways to do this. There's try to like bait him in melee every time, or you just have to like shoot and cover, hit and cover the whole time like you're playing Gears of War. The only problem with the alternate path is I think it's gonna take forever to kill this thing.
Station number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. And no room to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now and they won't have enough to ID you. Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
AP at 50%. AP at 30%.
I don't know what happened there. Ah, see, look at this, is so lame. The stupid barrier, invisible barrier.
AP at 30%. AP at
Wow, this is a lot harder than I thought it would be. Where is he? Wow, this is tough. Man, this game is okay. This is this type of game, okay. Is there anything that I can actually change on my mech? I don't think so. This is a tutorial level. Let me see. Is there anything to even change?
Try accessing the rack.
I guess not. This reminds me of the first boss in Wolong. It's the same kind of thing. Until you master the combat system, it's basically going to be like this the whole time.
Fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were on to you after all. No one to pick a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now, and they won't have enough to ID you. Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
is there a way to level up? Was there something that I was supposed to do? I feel like this is kind of very limiting in what I can do here.
That's it. Try accessing the wreck.
I guess try to stay under... I think if you stay under the boss, I think that's what I need to do.
Registration number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. No need to make a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now, they won't have enough to ID you. Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
AP at 50%. Two repair kits remaining. AP at 50%.
Oh, that was close. I ate all those missiles.
AP at 30%. AP at 50%.
What? Oh, I was actually really close right there. That's the closest I've ever done. Okay, so play more aggressively, basically, is what I learned. Play more aggressively, get under the boss more, try to get behind the boss.
That's it. Try accessing the wreck.
Alright, after this, we're probably going to get into the news articles of the week. It's taking a lot longer than it should have.
Number RB23. Rank fits the bill. Call sign. What? Looks like they were onto you after all. No need to make a fight with the PCA. But it doesn't matter. Take it out now, they won't have enough to ID you. You've got them now. They can kill 16. We got what we came for. Tie up the loose ends, 621. Use your mobility in the air to get clear of explosions on the ground.
It's like what do you call that thing in Spain? Where the matador, I'm like a matador and this thing's like a bull. That's what it feels like. There. No damage run tomorrow. I'm working on it. You basically,
Heavy combat helicopter is down.
you gotta treat it like you're a matador.
Here's the call sign from that license you picked up.
Where are we going? Raven. Okay.
Raven.
Sounds like a character from
Here
Tekken.
on Rubicon.
Base paid in whatever this stuff is. Illegal entry.
Coral, a sublime substance. Discovered on Rubicon, a planet on the frontier of developed space. For a time, coral was a revolutionary energy resource on Data Conduit, poised to transform human society by leaps and bounds. They called it the Fires of Ibis, a storm of flame that tore through the stars, leaving lethal contamination in its wake. Coral, the kindling, was thought to have been utterly consumed, forever lost.
Okay, so it's basically resource
However,
tug of war.
on Rubicon, the embers continued to burn. Humanity would inevitably return to stoke the fire.
Registration number RB23. Call sign Raven.
Thoughts when AMD's Zen 5 is going to be released? We already know it's next year.
MIA status. Restoring
It's going to be
access
in
privileges.
around March of next year.
This is All Might, the mercenary support system.
Either March or probably
Welcome
April
back, Raven.
or May, somewhere around there. I would say March at the earliest.
Looks like you passed the authentication. Raven. That's who you are now. You're on Rubicon. I've picked up some work for you already. Take a look, 621.
This notification follows restoral of access privileges. Your license was in a suspended state. Perhaps you may need a refresher. As an added incentive, completion of the exercises will be rewarded with AC parts. You stand to benefit regardless.
Okay. AC design. Emblem acquired. Okay, we're in the garage. This is where the ray tracing actually is turned on. So we got G13 Raven. The head unit. Another one. And some arms. So they basically they collected these things from the ones that we investigated or we inspected earlier. Oh, see, okay, this part of the game uses ray tracing. Only this part when you're in the garage. So we got ray traced whatever. I don't know. I mean, it looks like it's ray traced light rays, not shadows. You know what these mechs remind me of? They remind me of the eggs units in Xenogears and Xenosaga. Or actually, it's more like the ES units in Xenosaga 2 and 3. I hope at some point you get these cool looking Gundam wings. Although this game is going out for some more like grungy, metallic look to it and less about that Gundam brightly painted. But I could be wrong, who knows? Maybe they have that kind of customization because there is a lot of customization in this game. Wait, we can equip nothing? Oh, okay. So on this side, what do I even have? What is this? Oh, this is the blade. The blade is in the left hand. So you can just punch things, or you can go with this. This head unit, the first one looks like... It doesn't look like a Gundam. This one looks more like a... This one looks like a Rick dome. This one looks like a dome or a dome or a Rick dome. Oh, but see, it changes the stats. See, I get more AP. I get way more AP. I get less system recovery. That means, but it's not that bad. The weight goes way down. The AP goes up. The defense goes up. I think this current load. I guess we'll go with this. Oh, the Balam. Huh. I feel like these are better because it's less... It's like you get more for less. Like the negative is not as bad as the positive. Wait, what does this change though? Arm parts for scout. Fire specialization. Firearm specialization goes way up. Load limit goes down though, which means I have to reload more often. But I didn't really notice that being much of a problem. Load limit. I wonder what the... Oh, AP is your hit points. So I'm actually getting more hit points. We're gonna go with the more hit points. Altitude stability goes slightly down. Okay, well that's essentially that. Back unit. There's nothing else except this one. Is there like a thing to go and shop and get more parts? Expansion? Paint? Color set. Oh, I see. Okay, see, you can go with this stuff. That's interesting. I'll probably play around with that later. The default color scheme, it really makes me think of the ES Asher in Xenosaga 2. It has that kind of almost like a light, like an indigo, gunmetal and indigo, and the almost kind of like a gray, gunmetal and indigo color scheme. Are these supposed to be certain factions in the game? I don't understand. I guess. That's cool. How do I save? Does it just save automatically? I guess it saves automatically. But this is a good point where... Okay, we can start going over some of the news articles now. Let's take a break. So, if anybody has specific ones they want to talk about... So, the question about Zen 5. Zen 5 is next year. I expect that to be quite a bit faster than Zen 4. And probably have a better memory controller, if I had to guess. Because that's kind of in line with a lot of their previous CPU upgrades. Okay, so... For those wondering... Hold on, let me make this quieter. Turn this down. Okay. The Radeon RX 7800 XT. Wait, where's the... I gotta move you guys over here. And the 7700 XT. These are launching soon, very soon. They're supposed to be announced this week at Gamescom. So somehow they got leaked early. Now I know that if anybody attended the webinar, there is an upcoming webinar, a Meet the Experts webinar. Will be talking in detail about these graphics cards, but that's going to come out probably after the reviews for this graphics card, or these graphics cards. So that's really not that helpful, but it did shed light on one of the graphics cards. One of the graphics cards that is launching at Gamescom is a 60 compute unit part. event on Gamescom is tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow? I don't know. I'd have to look that up. AMD Gaming Festival at Gamescom? Oh, you're right, it is. It will be live in 12 hours. 11 a.m. Eastern. So, unfortunately, I won't be able to watch that. I'll be having to do work and stuff, so it's like I won't be able to see this live. But, yeah, so it is tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, which would be like 8 a.m. Pacific time. So, it is tomorrow. There is a YouTube page. IGN has the stream feed ready. But one of these is a 60 compute die. I don't know, did they show in this article? Okay, look at this. As far as specifications are concerned, the Radeon 7800 XT is based on Navi 32 with 4 MCDs. The GPU core comes in 3,840 cores packed with 60 compute units. It's configured with 16 gigabytes of VRAM. So that is very strange. I'm not sure now how this will stack up. You have to wake up early? Yeah. I'm trying to think, will I be able to watch this? I don't think so. No. I won't be able to watch this. I might be able to catch the very tail end of it, but I don't think we're going to be able to watch it. So, the 7800 XT is 60 compute units. That is actually alarming. Because the reason why it's alarming is because if we go up here to Tech Power Up, and we type in W7800, that brings up the Radeon Pro W7800. This thing is a 7800, but it is a Navi 31 with 4,480 cores. And the compute units on this is 70 compute units. So I don't know. And they estimate that a W7800 is about as fast as an RTX 3090, a 4070 Ti, and a 6950 XT, and a 3080 Ti. So it's kind of like the 70 compute unit workstation with a 260 watt TDP is around this performance. What this means is that the 60 compute unit part, which is a smaller die, this is going to have to clock significantly higher and be basically pushed to its limit to be able to compete with the workstation part. So they're going to be able to... I think they'll be able to get close to the workstation's performance, but they're going to do it at like 300 watts. The AMD announcement should be coming tomorrow at Gamescom. Yeah, they are. That's what we're talking about right now. There is a notification page. IGN has a gaming festival at Gamescom 2023 live stream right now on YouTube. It says it will be live in 12 hours. So, 11 a.m. Eastern. Tomorrow. TSMC 5nm doesn't clock much above 3 gigahertz. Well, what is the speed of this thing? So, this thing runs at 1855 to 24... It's basically 2500. And the workstation part typically doesn't go above this. So, yeah, the 7800 XT is going to have to clock at least 2500 to get close to this, if not higher than that. So, it's probably going to be more like 2800 megahertz, if I had to guess. This is a 70 compute. This is the one that I think it was supposed to be, but I guess what they're doing is they're selling these. Apparently, if AMD is selling enough of these for the professional market, because it does have 32 gigabytes of VRAM. See, I personally thought that this thing with a 256-bit bus, 16 gigabytes of memory, this to me all year long I've been saying that this is the 7800 XT, but apparently it's not. It is definitely not. It is the consumer market is a 60 compute unit part, which means that best case scenario, it will come close to this. Worst case scenario, it will be a lot slower than this. So we'll see. But this is the part that I think most people, myself included, were thinking or assuming that the 700 XT would be, but apparently not. It has 3840 compute units, or cores, 3840 cores, so that is what, 500-ish something less than this thing? So that's actually not that much less. What is it's a 256-bit bus, so it's the same bus, same amount of memory, 64 gigabytes of infinity cache, an 18 gigabyte pin speed, 576 gigabytes per second of total bandwidth. What is this thing? This thing's total bandwidth is 576. So hold on a second. This has similar specs in terms of the bandwidth. So it might actually be similar to this thing. We'll see. I would assume that the 7800 XT should be performing somewhere around a 6900 XT, if not a 6950 XT. I still stand by that assumption. So we'll see. I think it'll be close. See, here's the thing, guys. You got to remember, this part, the professional part, is only running at 260 watt. This is 260 watts, and it's getting this performance. I think the 60 compute is probably going to run at 300 watts. So it'll probably be a wash at the end of the day. If AMD can get 6950 XT, aka RTX 3080 Ti and 3090 and 4070 Ti rasterization performance on a cut down or a smaller chip compared to the 70 compute, that increases their profit margins. So if they can do that, then I think it's totally fine for them. It shouldn't be a problem. You should be able to overclock it to that. Yeah, so I think it's going to be close to the 6950 XT in terms of the performance. I think that was kind of what AMD's performance goals were, if I had to guess. And if they're able to do that by clocking a smaller chip higher, with a higher TDP of a larger chip that is underclocked because it's for the professional market, then so be it. Then that's basically what it is. So what that means is I expect the 7800 XT to be faster than the 4070 in rasterization. I think it's going to be probably a few percentage points slower than the 4070 Ti. So it'll be between the 4070 Ti and the 4070 in terms of its rasterization performance. So that's my prediction for the actual consumer GPU. Now for the 7700 XT, I don't think we have a lot of info on that. That is, I don't even know, do they even talk about it? The 7700 XT is probably going to be $600. It's either going to be $600 or it depends on how it does. It can be anywhere. They're saying $550 to $600. I'd say it's going to either be $600 or $650. But we'll see. We'll see what they do. AMD considers all GPUs above $500 an enthusiast class, whereas $1,000 and above are labeled as ultra enthusiast class. Okay, so they're trying to change the name. They're trying to change the narrative in terms of the pricing structure. Similar to what Nvidia did with this generation. So that is the 70. Wait, this is the 7700? I don't know how somebody got this. Like, I don't know how this leaked. This is obviously from the video, the hype video. What do you think the price of the XT will be? I'm gonna say I think it's either $599 or $649. I'm gonna go ahead and say $649. We'll see. People are going to always choose the lowest one, which is the most unrealistic expectation, but whatever. I'm saying it's here. The people who are like in this group, I think are the most realistic. I could see it potentially being this much, but I think that's being really, really aggressive. I think the reason why AMD cannot sell this at $549 is because they're not manufacturing enough of them at launch, so they're not going to do that. It just doesn't make any sense. So you guys got to think about it too. Like, think about the price of a 6800 XT and a 6950 XT. 6950 XT today is around $649. So if we're predicting, or at least I'm predicting, that the performance is similar to that, then naturally it should be $649. Considering the fact that the XTX is $999, which is the same exact price as the MSRP for the 6900 XT when it launched. Naturally, the 7800 XT, if we go by the historical MSRP, the correct price for it should be the price of the 6800 XT, which is $649 launch price. So I think it's probably going to be $649. That's my logic behind it. I think anyone who thinks it's going to be like $500 or $550 or something like that, they're being $500 is way too optimistic. $550 is as low as it'll be as possible. The 6800 XT has 12 more compute units, so how can they price a product with less hardware for same MSRP? What are you saying? Has 12 more? I don't understand the argument. I mean, ask Nvidia. How does Nvidia price a 4070 Ti where they did? That's more than a 3080 was. So they can totally do it. But I think that's realistic pricing. I would expect $600 or $649, or like $599, $649 for the 7800 XT. That to me makes the most sense. And then for the 7700 XT, which I don't really know much about, to be honest, like that one. Okay, see here they're showing this. Do we know the compute unit number on this thing? In terms of pricing, this... Wait, why do I keep opening this? No, look at the 4070 Ti. The 4070 Ti, I like how they use a 3080 Ti's cooler there. This thing is 259 millimeters squared. The 3070 Ti is 392. So 392 versus 294. So based off of the die size, the 3070 Ti should be priced higher than the 4070 Ti based off of the die. You don't go by the SM count. You go by the die size. That's how you tell. This is how you tell the profit margins on these things. So not the number of cores, because obviously the node shrink, it's going to fit more. Yeah, that one we should be able to figure out. So, like, if we look at this, the 6700 XT was this, and you're saying 48 SM? You mean compute unit? So this thing, the 6700 XT had 40 compute units. The 6800 XT had 60 compute units. Oh, okay. Yeah. So this goes back to what I was saying on a previous stream. So the 7800 XT is basically like a 6800. 520 millimeters. See, that's a big die, though. So, yeah, I think it's going to be like $600 to $650 MSRP on the 80. Now, this one, I don't know. If it's a 48 compute die, It'll probably be like 450. It'll be like 400 to 450. So we go back here. What do I think this will be priced at? They say $499, $479. It could be $479, but I think it's probably gonna be $449. No, these are too cheap. I'm gonna go with $449. So I choose $449 for the 7700 XT. Let's go with that. $450. Obviously, these polls make no sense because everyone's always gonna vote for the cheapest one. So you said it's 54. Wait a minute, 54. 54 CUs makes it so close to the 7800 though. 54. That's only 6 compute units less than the 7800 XT. To me, that's like really close. Are you sure about that? That, I don't know. They might do like another intermediary cut down die and price that at like 550 or 500. So, or somewhere around there. That's why I think 449 and 649 make the most sense. So I guess if we open up my paint thing here. So this is what I think is going to happen. So let's do this. And this is how I will do this. So 6900 XT was... Whoops. Hold on. 6900 XT was $999 MSRP. 6800 XT was $649 MSRP. 6800 was... I think it was $579. I'm not even sure. That one I don't remember, to be honest. 6700 XT was $479. 6700, I don't know, because that one came later. 6600 XT was $379, or was it? I think it was. And then 6600 was the cheap one at like 300 or 299 or so, somewhere around there. I don't remember. Anyway, I think these were the prices. Somebody can like fact check me on this and see if I'm right or wrong. Yeah, it doesn't have an MSRP. That's why I don't know what it is. So now if we go look at the new stuff, I guess we'll just move this down. So let's just do this. 7900 XTX, $999. 7900 XT. This is the one that was dumb. This one was $899, but I think it's actually really more like, well, we'll just leave it at that. That's dumb. Then we have this, which I think is going to be $649. Then we have 7700 XT. So actually, you know what we'll do? We'll just leave like this here, and then 7700 XT at $449. Then 70. So I personally think this is supposed to be something, but we don't know what it is. And then there's the last one, which is 269, something like that. 269, I think, was what that one is. So you can see you have to kind of fit the pieces in. You can't have these massive gaps between products. That is the reason why, to me, $649 makes the most sense, considering this thing is actually selling, you know, currently it usually sells for like $800. It's more like $799, somewhere in this category. So if you take that, the adjusted price, which is like $800, this is like $150 less than that. So it's within range. And then if it's at the full original price, which is way overpriced, then it's like $250 less. So it still ends up being a realistic price target for this product, based off of how fast it is, or how fast I think it's supposed to be. 7700 XT, $400 will sit right between that and that. Yeah, and that's exactly where it's going to sit. So that's why, because what I could see happening is they could do this. They could do that, but I think they're just going to do this. They're going to make it even. They're going to go with like 50s. You know why? Because Nvidia goes and does like the whole number. Like the divisible by 10 and 5. AMD is going for the divisible of like 5 only. So like that's what I think is going to happen. So we'll see if I'm right. It's interesting. I'm making my predictions. So you guys will know tomorrow how much these things will actually cost. And we'll see if I'm right. I mean, historically, all I do is pretty simple stuff. If you look at what I do, I literally just copy-paste the previous generation's price. And then this one is a little bit higher, but I'm going to go ahead and say it's $449. Just because it makes a nice $200 difference between the two of them. So that's the reason why I'm doing that. But the previous one was actually $479. But things are not the same. Like, AMD knows that the GPU market is kind of stale when it comes to the gaming market. Not the AI market, but the gaming market. So I think $449 is a fair asking price for this. Because you guys got to remember, think about how this is going to easily justify being $100 more than like an Intel Arc or a 3060 Ti, or even a 3060. So let's be honest, like it makes sense. It could even be slower than the what? The 7800 is dead on arrival. Are you sure about that though? Do we actually know? I don't think so. I think it's going to be about the same as the 6950. It's going to be, okay, at worst, it could be a little bit slower than the 6950 XT, more closer to a 6900 XT. But in reality, it's probably going to be the same in most cases, if not better in the long run. Because it's newer, it has AV1, it has better RT. I mean, it's got stuff to it that makes it more appealing than buying last generation, considering that they're at the same exact price. I don't think so. We'll see. I don't know. If it's not faster than the 4070, it's DOA. No, it's faster than the 4070. You have to remember something, guys. Like, okay, let me just write something so that you memorize this into your brain. 6800 XT is greater than 4070. Okay? This is already a truth. This is already a truth. So there's no way that the 7800 XT is going to be slower than the 6800 XT. Therefore, by logic, this is true. See? So memorize that. That will actually help in identifying the differences. Let's bring up no, it's not. Here's Tech Power Up. Here's the 4070. Here's the 6800 XT. No, the 6900 XT and the 6950 XT are even faster. I mean, didn't Hardware Unboxed recently do a video that showed this? I think they did. So, no, the 6800 XT is faster. So it's the 7800 XT is going to be like up here somewhere. It's going to be like near these two cards. So, but we'll know tomorrow, obviously, what I expect to see. Going back to this, I expect to see, you know, AMD showing marketing slides of this exact comparison. I think what they'll do is they'll do this. They'll do this to show gen-on-gen performance uplifts. And then they may do, you know, this plus this as a comparison, or this versus this as a comparison. So I think that's what they're going to do. Well, you'll get an idea, right? Like, they'll show some bar charts and all this stuff. Now, obviously, it's their own testing. But in general, their own testing is in the same ballpark as reviewers' testing. The only difference is the reviewers will test a wider range of games in different engines. So, but in general, we'll have a general idea of how fast it is. Because if you go back and you go look at the 7900 XT reveal, or XTX and XT reveal, they did that. They showed that. So, and it's not like it's way off from what the reviewers showed. So, we'll get a general idea of how fast it is tomorrow. The one that I really don't know is this one. Like, I don't know anything about this. This, to me, is the huge, like, I have no idea, the wild card. Because this is the one that could do a lot of different things. Like, I feel like the 7700 XT at, like, $449, it won't really do that much. Personally, I don't think at that price it'll be that amazing. But at maybe like $399, it will be a lot better value. I personally think, like, if this was $399, now I know they won't do this. I'd be very surprised if they do this. But if they make the 7700 XT like the same exact price as the 4060 Ti, then that'll be interesting. Now, I don't think they're gonna do that, but that would be interesting. I don't think they're going to do that because if it is like you said, if the 7700 XT is a 54 compute unit, that puts it way too close to the higher tier part, which means that the price of it to manufacture it, like the die size, isn't going to be... It's not going to be cost effective for the price at like $400. You know, that doesn't make any sense. Like, you might as well just put that $50 upcharge on there so that your partners get more margin. Like, that's basically how a new product should be at launch. And at the end of the day, think about it like this. They're going to throw these cards out into the market. They're going to build up hype so the people that want them will buy them. But on top of that, they're going to use these launch MSRP prices at like $649 or $449 for both of them to help push the remaining inventory of the last generation. See, that's why. The 1600 XT for $370, yeah, but that's not how much it goes for brand new. That doesn't sell for $370. Right? I don't even think those are even around anymore, to be honest. Like, RX 6900 XT, I don't think you can even buy them anymore. Yeah, they're gone. They're completely gone from Newegg. So the only ones that are still around, RX 6800 XT is still around. You can still find these. These from Newegg. Yeah, but that doesn't count, dude, because that's not you're not buying retail. Buying private seller doesn't count. Like, that's like an anecdotal thing, like one person managed to do that one deal. Like, that's not representative of the actual market. So, this is the price of a 6800 XT new right now. So, let's think about that. So, the new card, the 7800 XT, for sure is not going to be $549 because the outgoing model is already discounted. So that means that the lowest I can see the 7800 XT going for brand new at launch is $599 minimum. So that's why I personally think it's going to be $649, just like the 6800 XT was when it launched originally. Because think about it. It already has the 16 gigabytes. It already has the it's got the 16, whereas with the 4070, you have to pay $500 to get 16 gigs. But it's not, you know what I'm saying? It's like it just looks like bad value at the end of the day. And the 4070 Ti looks like bad value because you're paying way up there. You're paying like an additional $300 to $200, depending on if you're comparing it with the 4070 8 gig versus the 4070 16 gig for a 12 gig card. So it's like if you compare it to, the reason why the 4070 Ti looks really bad in my eyes is because if you compare it to a 4070 8 gig, you're paying $300 more for 4 more gigabytes of VRAM and a faster chip. But it's like you're paying that much more and you're only at 12 gigs. See, that to me, that just looks like bad value. And then it looks even more strange when you compare it to the $500 16 gigabyte 4070, because now you're getting less memory, you're getting a faster chip for $200 more, but you're getting less memory than you were on the cheaper card. See, that's why it just looks very, it's very loony. It's like really weird. Like the logic there is kind of odd. So it's like the way Nvidia's cards are positioned, it's almost like they're all designed to get somebody to spend more money. Because it's like you look at a 4070, and then you go and look at all the reviewers complaining about 8 gigabytes not being enough. So then you start looking at the $500 option, and then it's like, okay, you're paying $100, but it's the exact same chip. So it's like, how can you really, you might as well just look at the next tier up. But the next tier up is another $200 on top of that, but then it has less memory than the $500 part. So if you want to keep the 600, now you have to go up $400 more to a 4080 to keep your 16 gigabytes that you had on the $500 part. So now you're paying more than double to get a significantly faster part, but it's the same amount of memory as the cheaper one. See, it's so weird. And then at that point, then it opens the door for like, other stuff. So it's I don't know. Like Nvidia's pricing stack this generation is the whole middle section for Nvidia's pricing from the 4070 all the way up to the 4080 literally makes no sense. Those 3 cards are like terrible value. So it's just, that's the reality of Nvidia. Nvidia has like a really good card all by itself, but it's extremely expensive. It's like buying an entire gaming laptop, but it's just a GPU. And then the lower end of the spectrum, like the 4060 and the 4060 Ti, they kind of make sense, but then when you look at the 30 series, it's like, what exactly is the benefit besides frame generation? I guess frame generation is the key selling point for the 4060 and the 4060 Ti. So it's like, yeah, that one feature, it makes a huge difference in some scenarios where the game actually takes advantage of it. So I guess that's their saving grace. It's DLSS 3 is the saving grace of Nvidia's entire 40 series stack. From like 4060 all the way up to like 4070, 4080. Because it's just kind of weird value. You can get the 3080 used now. Yeah, but again, you keep bringing up used hardware. The problem with used, though, like, it's like, yeah, if you buy used hardware, that's fine. If you can find a good deal. But the reality is, that's not how you can compare the price of, like, new products. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're trying to predict the launch price of a new product, you cannot, well, you can look at used, but you cannot use used as a determining factor when you're trying to guess what the price of something will be. Now, a more realistic thing is to look at the price of a new last generation part. So like I'm using this example, 6800 XT for $529 or $549. That signals to me that the new 7800 XT will be like $600 or $650. Like that, this literally signals that to me just by looking at this. Nvidia doesn't make new 30. No, I know that. Like all of Nvidia's stuff is all of the 30 series stuff is EOL. All of it's end of life. But that doesn't mean that you can't buy a new 30 series part. Now you can't buy a 3090 new. You can't buy a 3080 new. Those have been gone for months. You can buy a 3060 or a 3060 Ti brand new today because they have an enormous amount of stock still moving through the channel. Similarly, you can still buy the 6800 XT and you can still buy the 6700 XT as well. Even though these parts are EOL, you can still get them. And actually, this is a good way to also sort of predict what the price of the 7700 XT will be. So again, I think that the 7700 XT will be around $450 because the previous one is like $100 less. So to me, that's, you know, I'm looking at it like 6800 XT at MSRP now or today, right now, is like $530, $529. We'll call it $530 to $550. Add $100. That's your MSRP for the next generation. Same deal with the 6700 XT and the 7700 XT. You take the current market price, you add about $100, plus or minus, you know, like 5%, and there you go. That's your list price for the next generation. That's kind of how I do it, and that makes a lot of sense. So we'll see what happens tomorrow, though. I don't expect any surprises. I think I'm very... obviously, I don't know the real price because I don't have, like, leak insider information or anything. But I'm just going off of logical thinking here, looking at previous generation. And I think that they can justify the prices that I just outlined because they're not going to sell a whole bunch of these at launch. Like, they're going to sell their initial wave like they always do, like everything does, except for like the 4060 and the 7600 because nobody cared about those. But you know, if there's enough hype for these kind of like, they call it enthusiast class, but it's more like, I consider these like high end. I consider enthusiast is more like a 7900 XT and XTX. Those are more enthusiasts. The 7800 is more like high end or high performance. And then you have like upper mid range, which is what I consider the 7700 XT. So I think those are going to have a little bit of hype for them, more so than the, obviously than the 7600. But after that, they're gonna sit on shelves, and people are probably gonna buy the previous generation until those are gone. And I think they can justify the price because they have the previous generation selling where they are. So we'll see if my predictions come true tomorrow, though. 7800 XT is a mid-range GPU. Why do you say that? Price-wise, it's not. Mid-range is not supposed to be $600+ historically. How is mid-range more than a PlayStation 5 or an Xbox Series X? See, I mean, I understand what you're saying. You're probably equating it to the die size, but you know, Nvidia's been selling 4070s at like 500 with 16 gigs, or you know what I'm saying, or 600, I should say, for 16 gigs. Did I say that? No, I meant 600 for 4070, and that's supposed to be mid-range. 6950 XT. What about 6950 XT? Oh, you can still get those. 6950 XT. Those are like six. Yeah, see? They're almost gone, though. So if we do sold by Newegg, or actually that is shipped by Newegg. This is shipped by Newegg? No, that's direct from Yeston. So it's basically around 650 or less. I've seen them go for like 629. And then with the promo on Newegg, you can get them for like 600 for a 6950 XT. If it performs like a 4070, what is that a TI? The heart symbol always gets in the way. I can't see the whatever's behind it. Yeah, but these can still be found pretty commonly at Micro Center, but Newegg has been selling out of these recently. So to me it seems like they're basically launching them now because they are at that threshold that I was talking about earlier. 6950 XT costs 7,800. Yes. That's what it'll probably be. It's $550 on Amazon. Really? The 6950 XT? Okay. Well, are you sure? Really? That's really low. Because, let me see what they've got them. So, I was using the Starfield thing as an example previously. But if we look at this... See... Micro Center still has the reference card in stock for $649. So it's... I use this as the basis of comparison because this is the reference card. And the reference card at $650 is... That's still a pretty good deal considering what it is. So... If you can get it for $550 on Amazon, that's like a really good deal actually for this graphics card. Because I like the 6900 XT in general. I think that's one of AMD's best products that they've launched probably in the last 10 years. If you think about the entire history of Radeon from 10 years ago. 10 years ago was when AMD was launching the 290X. This. So, literally a decade ago, almost, not quite, so look at that. October 24th, 2013 was when AMD launched the Radeon R9 290X. So this thing was, for a while, this was the fastest GPU in the world for like, I think it was like a month. Then after a month, Nvidia countered with the 780 Ti. The 780 Ti was what they countered with. And you can see here, 780 Ti was like 4% faster than this thing back in the day. So this was when AMD was still competitive with Nvidia. It was during this time, 10 years ago. But the thing with the Hawaii launch was the reference cards were very, very loud because they were these blower style coolers. And this was like a 300 watt card or something like that. I think it was 300 watts. Was it 300 watts? 290 watts. See, I was so close. I was off by 10 watts. You round that up with overclocking or whatever, or a custom cooled card, and you know it's like 300 watts. So these were like 300 watts, and they were super loud on these blower style coolers. So if you wanted one of these, you had to buy like an AIB card. You literally had to go with an AIB. So the one that I ended up getting was the Asus Matrix. No, not this. Wait, no, what am I talking about? That's the 7900. I ended up getting the Power Color PCS Plus. This was my very first Power Color graphics card. And it was a 290X. And it was loud. It was loud because the fans were small. I talked about this on a previous stream. Anyway, even their 6900 XT can get loud once it reaches 320. Really? Mine doesn't get loud though, but I never overclocked mine. My reference card is extremely quiet, though. I mean, I never noticed any... That's why I like the RDNA 2 reference card so much, because it's so quiet. Compared to Radeon 7, compared to all the blower-style coolers from their previous reference cards, the 6900 XT reference cooler was a breath of fresh air. It was, like, way quieter. and way more well behaved than any of their other graphics cards. That's why I really think that that was their best product in a long time. Like this card was quiet, and it was basically what, faster than 3080 when it came out, because it was like 3080. Then I mean 3090 obviously was faster by a small amount, but the thing is 3090 was like $1,500, and you can never buy one because of the scalpers and the bots and the crypto guys and all that stuff. So, but you couldn't buy this either. Like after, if you couldn't get one of these at launch, you couldn't get one of these pretty much the same way you couldn't buy any of the Nvidia 30 series for like 2 years. So it performs like a 3080 Ti. Yeah, that's exactly what I think it performs like too. Didn't I? I thought I did a video that showed the two cards. Didn't I? I think so. Anyway, this was, I think this is their best GPU that they've launched in 10 years. Because this was the alternative, and it was good. It actually was the fastest graphics card for like 1 month. For a month, it was the fastest. And then even then, like the 780 Ti was like neck and neck with this thing. They were back and forth. So, and then Nvidia launched the GTX 980 and the 970. And then this thing was stuck having to compete with a GTX 970 until AMD rebranded this thing, so it became slightly faster. They basically turned this into an R9 390X, which was more power, more memory. It was like 8 gigabytes of memory. Yeah, that's right. It was 8 gigabytes of memory, and it was competitive with the GTX 970. And the 970, you know, only had like 3.5 gigs versus 8. But I mean, 8 on this thing didn't really matter much, so it's like whatever. And then Fury came out, and then 980 Ti came out. And then after that, that was when AMD like started falling behind. Like that was where, after that, they didn't have an answer to Nvidia's fastest GPU, right? Like the last time AMD was neck and neck with Nvidia was the Fury X, which was this thing, the liquid-cooled Fury X. This thing was competitive with the 980 Ti. This was the rival to the 980 Ti. This was the first GPU to use HBM memory. This is what put AMD on that path to chiplets, and because they started using interposers for this sort of stuff with HBM. And you guys can see like the 7900 XTX and the RDNA 3 variants, except for the 7600. They all use something similar to this. Now, it's not HBM, they use MCDs, but it's, in principle, it's a similar concept. So this was like the pioneer of that sort of technology, or that trend for the GPU and also the CPU manufacturing. So that's kind of how that started. But after that, Nvidia launched Pascal, the 1080, and like AMD couldn't do anything. So it's like the best they could do was Vega 64, which was as fast as the 1080. So that means that Nvidia had 1080 Ti uncontested, and it wasn't until Radeon 7 came out, but by that time Nvidia had the 20 series. So there was the 2080 Ti, and that was uncontested. So you guys, it wasn't until the RDNA 2 that AMD actually had an answer to Nvidia's fastest consumer GPUs. So that's the reason why I really do think the RDNA 2 was their best GPU launch in literally a decade. So, because it was a big comeback, actually. Now, obviously, Nvidia had features like DLSS and ray tracing, which still made them one step ahead of AMD on the feature side. And that's the reason why, if you ask anybody at Nvidia how they determine their product stack, they'll say that they don't compete on price. They compete on features. That's how they believe that their products are designed. They're not trying to compete with AMD on price, they compete on features. So they feel like if they are offering more functionality, then they can justify whatever price they think is a fair price for their GeForce cards. So that's kind of how it's been since the 20 series. So everybody complaining about Nvidia's pricing structure, well, I mean, Nvidia's doing it because they think that they can determine the price based off of the features. And that's pretty much true. It's held true for like 3 generations of GPUs now. But the reality, though, is Nvidia really only has, when you think about it, when you break it down to its core, Nvidia has like 2 features. Well, in reality, Nvidia only has 1 feature that is a standout feature compared to AMD. But this argument only applies to the 40 series. It was the frame generation technology that exists today on the 40 series. It's exclusive to the 40 series. So anybody on 30 series, 20 series, all the older cards, they're completely locked out of that technology. So at that point, they're basically at parity with AMD. So meaning, if somebody with a 2080 today, they have access to DLSS, DLSS 2, but they do not have DLSS 3. And the ray tracing performance is the first generation RT for Nvidia, which is not nearly as good as Ampere or Ada. So it's kind of like they're not that different from AMD functionality-wise. And if somebody is on a 1060 or a 1080 Ti or something, you know, like a Pascal GPU, they're completely missing out on all of these new features that Nvidia bases their pricing on. They don't have access to DLSS. They don't have access to even ray tracing. They don't have access to frame generation. Like, they're basically, if someone's still on a 1080 Ti because they think it's the OG, they think it's like Sandy Bridge, you know, it's like so good, why would you need to upgrade? Well, newsflash, you really need to upgrade because there's like nothing that you benefit from using a 1080 Ti in this 2023 gaming era. Like, you don't have RT. Even if you don't care about RT, well, you don't have frame generation, which I actually think is a pretty interesting feature now that I've experienced it for myself on a 4090. So I really think that, in my opinion, frame generation is probably one of the most interesting innovations to come out of Nvidia's, their software development for their drivers, because DLSS is cool, but some people still consider it like a crutch, using it like a crutch because your hardware is not powerful enough to handle the target resolution of the display. See, so there's some people that still have that opinion when it comes to upscalers. But frame generation, I mean, I guess the argument can be made that it's a crutch, but not really, because it's not really changing the quality of the native image, if that makes sense. But I do really feel like frame generation and or upscaling are transformative technologies that can really benefit gaming on mobile platforms. So think of like the Nintendo Switch. The Nintendo Switch can benefit from DLSS 2.0 or 3.0 or even 3.5, which we will look at here in a little bit, in so much like leaps and bounds over what you get on the Switch today. So the amount of benefit to a Switch or a mobile device that these technologies bring is far greater than the benefit that it brings to a super high-end desktop graphics card. Also, you have to remember that the CUDA cores are exactly double the number per SM compared to how AMD has their shading units, their shading unit count. Yeah, but that's architectural stuff. That doesn't really matter because that's architecture. So if you want to compare NVIDIA's architecture, you have to compare their current generation to their previous generation and see how they've changed from their previous generation. But anyway, going back to like the 10 series though. The 10 series, people who are still on 10 series, they are missing out because they are really missing out in terms of like they don't have access to any of this stuff. So the funny thing is like the GTX 1080 Ti in order for that card to stay relevant at 1440p today on the most demanding games, because it can be relevant. It can be relevant because it has 11 gigabytes of VRAM. The 1080 Ti ended up being so future-proof, almost too future-proof for its own good, because it has 11 gigabytes of VRAM. It's still relevant at 1080p. But in order to keep high FPS in a lot of these newer games, think of games like Hogwarts Legacy, The Last of Us Part 1, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Starfield, these type of new demanding games, Forspoken, these games are very, very demanding. So in order for a 1080 Ti to stay relevant, it would need to leverage upscaling technology, but it doesn't have access to Nvidia's exclusive technologies, even though it's an Nvidia graphics card. So what does it rely on? Well, FSR. It has to use FSR, or I guess maybe XESS in the few games that have that. But it's relying on its competitors' upscaler. I've even read comments on Steam forums of people talking about like how to get better performance on a 1080 Ti, and I hear people say that you need to turn on FSR, and then like, what's FSR? And they look at it in the menu, it's like, it's an AMD thing. Why am I turning this AMD thing on? Well, you kind of have to, because that's your only thing. That's all you get. So 1080 Ti has a massive design flaw, and that is its FP16 being 1.6. Yeah, but there's a reason for that. The reason for that is because Nvidia wants to sell... Back then, Nvidia was selling the Titan in order for the FP16 to be better performance. Actually, no, was it FP16? I think it might have been double FP64. Might have been one of those. Maybe I'm wrong on that. But back then, Nvidia would differentiate their professional cards from their consumer cards based off of... Basically, what they would do is they would handicap the FP16 or FP32 or 64, or basically all of the above. They basically handicap the floating point on their consumer GeForce cards, and they would reserve the full performance for their professional cards. That's how they used to differentiate their parts. So it's not a flaw, it's a feature. It's actually designed to be that way on purpose. So yeah, this card was really good when it launched, and that's the reason. This was AMD's first $1,000 graphics card, just like how Nvidia started with... Think about it, Lo. Nvidia's first $1,000 consumer GPU was the GTX Titan back in 2013. Literally. So do you guys realize that Nvidia has had a $1,000 flagship for a decade? They've been offering $1,000 graphics cards for 10 years. I don't think a lot of people realize that. If we go all the way back to the original GeForce GTX Titan, an amazing 6 gigabytes of GDDR5 on a 384-bit bus, GK110, first generation Kepler. This is Kepler. February 19th, 2013, launch price $999. Now keep in mind, this is $1,000 in 2013 money. So if you adjust this for inflation, if someone wants to go ahead and adjust $1,000 in 2013 to 2023 dollars, what do you get? Let's see. Let me just do that real quick. Is there like an inflation calculator? So the equivalent dollar amount for $1,000 GTX Titan today in 2023 would be $1,312.22. So we'll call that $1,300. Wasn't the 7990 MSRP, was it? You might be right, actually. You might actually be right. That might be AMD's first 1000. Oh, whoa, look at that. Okay, you're right. But the reality, though, is AMD only sold very few of these. This graphics card is a rare collector's item. Meaning there are way more GTX Titans out there on eBay than there are HD 7990s. But yeah, so, okay. But now, this is a dual GPU. Just keep that in mind. This actually has 2 dies on the same PCB. So it's a little bit different. It's like, okay, it's a $1,000 graphics card, but it's like 2 dies on there. So you can imagine the profit margins on this for AMD is nothing compared to the profit margins on the GTX Titan. Because it's literally a 2-for-1. Yeah, this thing launched in 2013 also. April 24th, 2013. So this, I guess, this was AMD's counter to the Nvidia Titan. But Nvidia had a dual GPU of their own. Nvidia had the 690. The GTX 690 was the very last dual Nvidia GPU. It was the very last one to offer dual GPUs from Nvidia on the same exact card, or dual dies. So this was a Kepler. This was May 3rd of 2012. Okay, so this thing is older than the Titan. And this was $1,000. Okay, so I was a little bit wrong. I almost completely forgot about this card. This was Nvidia's first... Well, actually, no. Wasn't the 590 their first then? Because they had the 590 as well. If I'm not mistaken, they had a 590. Maybe not. Okay, maybe it was just this. Never mind. I take that back. I guess it was just this thing. Although I really kind of thought there was a GTX 590. But anyway, I'm not finding it on Tech Power Up. So anyway, this thing was $1,000 in 2012. GTX 690, yeah. They did a price cut in the same year and then dropped it to 7. That was the AMD card. Yeah, the AMD card went for as low as $699, I believe. But these dual GPUs were always very short-lived. They were interesting, but they were not practical. Who knows? The thing is, for all we know, the engineers at AMD and Nvidia could be experimenting with high-speed interconnects or large L3 cache or something like the Infinity cache on the AMD stuff in order to get better scaling. Because at some point, there's going to be a point where either TSMC can't go to the next node fast enough, or there's some sort of stagnation in trying to solve the problem of shrinking the transistors down even further. So at that point, you have to scale horizontally, which means the chips have to get larger, or you got to remember the chip can only be as large as the reticle limit. So you cannot just make the chip larger. So at some point, you have to scale horizontally. And what that means is that we may see a return of multi-GPU, or I guess more realistically, a dual GPU graphics card like this might make a return to the consumer market and the enterprise market if indeed we end up with a problem where you cannot get better nodes from TSMC or anybody else, at least for like multiple generations. The 590 exists, but the MSRP was that. Okay. Would you consider making another YouTube video of comparing Radeon 7? Radeon 7. Why Radeon 7? I mean, I have Radeon 7. That came out of nowhere. Radeon 7 versus the A770. I already know who will win. I already know the answer to that. I mean, I guess I could make a video because the Radeon 7 is so rare. can't really find a lot of content out there. I don't know if I should spoil the outcome. I already know the answer. I've already seen the comparison between the two of them. But I mean, I already know. All you have to do is look at the 7600 results. The 7600 is faster than the 70 or the A770 at 1080p. But yeah, like if I was gonna do that, I guess that would be an interesting test because they're both 16 gigabyte graphics cards, and the Radeon 7 is meant for 1440, I guess. So we could do Radeon 7 at 1440p. So I guess it would be like 1440p Radeon 7 versus A770. And see who's faster at that resolution. I would not test them at 4K though. 4K is kind of a dumb resolution for those cards, although it is GPU limited, so if you want to see like true performance, you crank it up to 4K. I just don't think that those GPUs are good for anything beyond 1440p. Like I feel like you could do 1080. 1080 on both is going to be really easy to do. But I don't know, like a 16 gigabyte card at 1080p to me seems kind of lousy. So yeah, I think 1440 would be the way to go. Even though ARC has disappointed me pretty much all year because all these new games that have come out this year have made my recommendation for... Because you guys remember when I did the ARC review last year, I basically recommended it for those who wanted to game at 1440p. That was my conclusion. But at the time, I didn't know that games like Hogwarts Legacy and Star Wars and all those other games were going to be as demanding as they are, which are so demanding that it basically makes the A770 oftentimes struggle at 1440p. It's not VRAM limited, but it ends up struggling because it's just not fast enough in terms of its just pure brute force rasterization. So, I mean, I could do Radeon 7. That'll be interesting. I'll have to go dig that out of storage. The last time I touched the Radeon 7 was when I did my GPU collection videos. This thing's been sitting in its box for months. So I'll have to go find this card. Yeah, I'll think about it. Okay, let me do this. I'll make a note. I'll write down a note of like videos to consider. Radeon 7 versus A770. So you want to see it go against... Okay, that makes sense because they both have 16. I was going to say 8. What about A750? But that's 8 gigabytes, so no, we'll just forget about that. Oh, I was going to ask, how did you fix the issue that you had with it crashing? Because remember you were telling me that the A770, there was some firmware update embedded in one of the driver updates that was causing the GPU to crash your computer. Like when you started up a game. I don't know if it was game specific or it was all games. How did you manage to resolve that? Let's look at some other articles here while we're doing this. So, let's see what else we got here. That's gonna come up soon. I don't even remember what I put in the... Oh, Armored Core. Well, I already showed Armored Core. Immortals of Aveum. We can talk about that. We're gonna talk about DLSS 3.5. And then major game releases in the new Avermedia. You had to do a file system scan to remove some issues with the drive. The SSD with Windows? That's weird. So it had nothing to do with the GPU? Well, that's good to hear there was nothing to do with the GPU, because that made me nervous, because I was thinking, like, if there really is no way to do a rollback, I was thinking I'm probably not going to bother updating the drivers on mine. I'll probably just leave them the way they are. So Nvidia revenue, we'll just go through this real quick. Nvidia gaming revenue sees 22% growth as global demand normalizes. Laptop GeForce outpaced desktops. So here's the thing that I really think that, you know, a lot of people say to ignore the Steam hardware survey. I mean, in general, that's true. But what they don't tell you is the Steam hardware survey, the amount of internet cafe PCs and the amount of gaming laptops is actually a substantial amount of the PC gaming hardware ecosystem. So it's, in a lot of places globally, people aren't going to have these massive high-end custom-build desktops, or even like pre-built desktops for that matter. Most of the time, it's going to be a gaming laptop, or it's going to be some kind of pre-build that's using some kind of mobile platform, like an APU or something, and then it has a discrete card attached to it. And that's usually going to be a 4060 or maybe 4060 Ti, but realistically it's more like 4060, 4070. Those GPUs are going to be very, very common in the mobile space, and I think that's the reason why we're going to see those slowly creep up in the Steam hardware. Because, like it says here in the article, laptop GeForce GPUs outpace desktops. That means that Nvidia is selling more of their 40 series cards and 30 series. Think of 3060, because those are in laptops all over the place, and 3050 in high volume. So that's kind of the reason why they show up in the surveys so high. Because think about it, when was the last time you guys saw an AMD laptop, or no, an AMD GPU in a laptop? You don't really see them that often. What's interesting is what I've noticed with laptops, you either have, you've either got, and you've got Ryzen Mobile with GeForce, or you have Intel Core with GeForce. But if you want to see a Radeon GPU in a laptop, it's usually always a Ryzen. It's like an AMD plus AMD, which I don't understand why there's no Intel plus AMD. Like, likewise, why is there no AMD plus Intel? You know what I'm saying? Like, give me a gaming laptop, even though I would never buy a gaming laptop. I'm just saying, give me a gaming laptop that has a Ryzen Dragon Range 7000 series mobile APU plus an Intel Arc A380 or something. You know, like some decent system that has an AMD Ryzen plus an Intel GPU. Or likewise, give me, well, I would say Intel Core, but Intel Core in laptops is just kind of lousy on battery life right now. But where are the Intel i7 laptops with like Radeon GPUs? You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the reason why the Steam surveys show so many 3060, 1660, 1660 Ti, 1660 Super, 3070. That's the reason why you see these in the Steam surveys, because they're in all the laptops. 6800M, yes, but the 6800M is so rare. That's what I'm saying. The amount of chips that Nvidia can allocate or sell to their partners, like, think of their partners as Asus, MSI, Acer, Gigabyte, Lenovo, Dell, HP, and then there are other brands like Omen, Legion, Alienware, you name it. All these mobile gaming brands, premium gaming brands, or just OEMs, all these guys are buying lots of Nvidia GPUs to sell in their gaming laptops. You don't really see this with AMD. It's like AMD, the problem that AMD has, it goes back to the capacity with TSMC. So they have to prioritize their CPU. They have to prioritize what's going to make them money at the end of the day. And what's going to make them money? EPYC CPUs for servers, Ryzen CPUs for desktop, Ryzen Threadripper Pros for workstation, Ryzen desktop, Ryzen mobile, all the mobile stuff. Like, they got to prioritize all the CPUs, all the APUs. Then after that, then they get the GPUs, Radeon GPUs, professional Radeon GPUs. So we got your W7800, etc. And then all your new stuff. And then you're selling all your old stuff, although they don't manufacture the old stuff anymore. So you see what I'm saying? Like, the problem is Nvidia can flood the market with the GPUs because that's all they do. They build GPUs. They are a graphics first, they are a GeForce or a GPU company first, and SoC custom silicon is kind of their side thing, although they don't really do nearly as much of it as they used to. They focused heavily on, you know, Grace Hopper and all this AI accelerator stuff. So that's kind of what they're chasing now for their own kind of things outside of the traditional graphics market. So that's the reason why you don't see a lot of like AMD stuff, because they just can't prioritize it. And Nvidia already floods the market anyway with the GeForce stuff, so it's like, why even bother? And that's the reason why the Steam surveys are the way they are. That and internet cafes. Internet cafes are the same deal. You buy, like, if you run an internet cafe in the Philippines or in South Korea, or I guess if Canada still has them, they're not really popular in the US anymore, but I know in Asia in particular, internet cafes are still pretty popular. And if you're running an internet cafe, you're pretty much going to buy like a desktop that is, it has to be kind of cheap, but it has to perform, and it can't use a lot of power because you're going to have a whole bunch of them in the room, and you can't have all of them heating up the room and multiplying that by 10,000 times. So, you know, you got to have like a lower cost GPU that can still play all your League of Legends, your Black Desert, your World of Warcraft, your Apex Legends, PUBG, Counter-Strike, you know, all your typical games that aren't even that hard to run by today's standards. You got to have that on your internet cafe computers. And that's the reason why, again, we see a lot of 3060 Ti, because they're relatively cheap. They're not very power hungry compared to the higher end stuff, and that is the reason why you see these things in the Steam surveys. The thing with the Steam survey is that the Nvidia driver pings the Steam survey. Has anybody been able to prove that, though? See, that's not what I've seen, though. It's like, if somebody can show me proof of that, like if someone has a source that proves that to be true, I would like to know, because I don't really think that's true. I really think that the reason why Nvidia, because guys, like, okay, look, here's something to think about. Here's something to think about. Steam hardware survey. Look, what I'm going to do is we're going to go to this, we're going to click on Linux, and we're going to look at Linux. So let's look at Linux. Processors for, hold on, oh, this is everybody. Wait, where is it at? Linux? Linux only? Here we go. Okay. This is the reason why I don't really buy the theory that the Nvidia driver pings a server all the time. Because, check this out. Look at Linux. If we look at Linux, this processor. Graphics card. Look at the graphics cards. Let's zoom in. Oh boy, let me move this over. Okay, let's look at the most popular graphics cards for Steam users in Linux. Now, you have to ignore the top. Obviously, AMD Van Gogh is super dominant because I think people are probably not aware of what this is. This is the SoC featured in the you-know-what. So that one we will kind of ignore, but this alone is 42% of the Steam market. Then we have the AMD RX 480 at 2.61%. Then you have all the 6700. It's kind of weird how they lump all these guys together. Basically, the Navi 22 is basically the third most popular thing on Steam. But notice that it is slowly changing. What are all these RAV? Okay, yeah, this is kind of weird. Okay, so we'll break this down. So I'm actually kind of confused as to why that's listed like that. But anyway, this is Radeon Vega series. Radeon, hold on. If I make this smaller, is it going to show what it is? No. Okay, never mind. Let's go back. Okay, so you have 6700, basically Navi 22, 480, Vega series Radeon. I don't know. I think this is mobile. Or actually, no, this is not mobile because this is mobile. This is actually the Radeon. Okay, so this thing is the Radeon 7 and the Vega 64 and the Vega 56. This is all three of those GPUs combined. Okay, then we have Intel UHD integrated graphics. You have Intel integrated graphics. Then you have the 6900 XT. So Rad V Sienna. This thing is the code name. For those that don't know, this is the original engineering code name, the secret word that referred to biggest big Navi. This is not big Navi. This is not big Navi. This is the biggest big Navi, aka the 6900 XT. Now, I don't know why it's listed like this, because that's not how it's supposed to be listed. Anyway, 6900 XT and I guess 6950 XT are that high up on the chart. See, this is the reason why I don't think the Nvidia driver is pinging the Steam server, because I mean that could potentially be a class action lawsuit. So it's like, I don't really think Nvidia is going to do that, because I don't think they want to get sued or anything for some kind of dumb, something dumb like this, or some kind of like anti-competitive behavior. So I don't believe that. I don't think it's a server pinging thing. I don't even know how they would do that, to be honest. So anyway, or how they'd get away with doing that. So anyway, Radeon Vega graphics. These are integrated graphics on APUs, on laptops. Then you have the GeForce 1060. Then you have the 5700 XT, the 6600 XT. So it's almost like we have somehow walked into an alternate universe. It's like we're in a completely different dimension looking at this. See? So, but yeah, I think Met said it earlier. This is the Steam Deck, for those that don't know. Obviously, the Steam Deck is Linux-based, so every single Steam Deck is going to count to Linux as the OS. So the Van Gogh is the SoC for the Steam Deck. And that's 42% of the Steam user market. Okay, then we've got some Nvidia. So basically, if you look at this, the Nvidia stuff is down here, and it's all old stuff. 10 series, 2060. You have a Renoir. This is a Ryzen. No, this is a. I don't actually know what this is. Renoir means it's Ryzen 4000, so which is really odd. Then you have the 3060 and the 1650, and then the Intel integrated graphics. Then you have AMD's Raphael. It's so weird seeing them actually label the Raphael. So this is AMD's integrated Radeon graphics in the Zen 4 CPU, and you can see that has a large positive change, which means a lot of people on Linux are upgrading to AM5. Because that's a 0.1 versus like these other ones that are like 0.0 something. Those are iGPUs. Yeah, this is iGPU. AMD Raphael is the integrated graphics in the 7950X. Basically like my CPU or any Zen 4 CPU is going to show up as this, if this is the primary graphics card. So, and that could be the case. A lot of people could be running a Steam box without a discrete graphics card, so it'll just read this, or it'll just read like Intel if they're on Intel. I don't know what this is though. This I have no idea. and you have your old 1070, and then you have more Intel integrated stuff, and then the mighty GTX 1080, and then you have the 7900 XT. Actually, I'm surprised to see these as high as they are. That's a pretty big percentage for such an expensive set of GPUs. One thing I wish that Steam would do, though, it would be nice to see what this would look like if they actually broke these out. I don't really know why Steam lumps all of the Navi dies that are based off the same die in one thing, because they don't do that for Nvidia. So that's kind of weird. Like, most likely this is, probably a good 85% of this number is XTX, because the XT did not sell nearly as well as the XTX. The ARC, yeah, it'll be interesting to see if it's actually on here. Yeah, because I'm curious to know if ARC is on here. Look, see, the thing with Steam is you have such granularity when it comes to Nvidia's, and then there's like these random like Van Gogh and like here's the 680M. See, okay, where's that Raphael? So you have Raphael, and then you have 680M. 680M is Ryzen 6000 series mobile. So like my work laptop has a 680M. So this is like my work laptop. Then this thing is like my streaming PC that I'm using right now. Like that, the integrated GPU is a Raphael, I guess. I mean, I guess that's how they classify it in Linux. But when you look at the Nvidia stuff, Nvidia knows how to differentiate even to this degree. They literally even have GeForce RTX 3070 light hash rate. They even have the anti-crypto version of the card listed. Like, what? They lump all the AMD stuff together based off the die, but then they go and break out the Nvidia ones even in this granularity. Crazy. Here's your 4090. There's the 3080 Ti. Here's a 5500M. And then there's your 6950X. Wait a minute. So 6950 XT. But then where's your... That is really strange. Yeah, so the Intel Arc doesn't even show up on the list. I try to search for 770, it doesn't even exist on here. So what that means is the percentage is so low that it's lumped into the other category. That's basically what that means. The list is a mess. I mean, it's kind of a mess for a lot of things. It's like, even... Who needs to know that they have a 3070 light hash? And why that one? Where's the 30... Okay, here's the thing, though. 3080 Ti. I saw 3080 Ti earlier. I want to point that one out. Because the 3080 Ti... Wherever it is. It's like somewhere here. Where is it? Here it is. 3080 Ti... Every single 3080 Ti is a LHR. All of it is a light hash rate. There's no 3080 Ti that is a normal GPU. All of them are purposely light hash rate. Like every single one of them. So you'll never see that differentiation. Like literally, like, yeah, well anyway, we don't need to go any more into that detail. 5500M is a surprise. Yeah. A770 for the win. Yeah, someday it'll crawl out of the other category. Maybe. We'll see. But see, on Steam, the most common resolution is still 1080p. Then this is like ultra-wide or multi-monitor. I guess that's ultra-wide, or is this multi-monitor? I don't know what this is. I don't even know what is the category. Like, it's too zoomed in. This is the multi-monitor. So multi-monitor, that's like dual, yeah, that's dual 1080 right there. And then 1 gigabyte, that's because of like Steam and all those other like Steam Deck and stuff. And then that is the, oh, that's VRAM. Never mind, that's VRAM, not system RAM. All right, we might as well zoom out a little bit. This is like way too big. But you guys can see what I'm saying. So it's like, I don't think it's a Nvidia driver thing. The other thing too, processor vendor on Linux. Like it's literally the reverse of what you see on Windows. 69.1, so that's about 70-30 split between AMD and Intel on Linux. So, if we look at Mac, let's look at Mac. Mac, let's see. Okay, so the MacBook Pro is 43% of the market on Steam. Then you have the MacBook Air, the iMac, the whatever this thing is, Mac Mini, this other stuff, and then you have Mac Pro, and it just goes down from here. Now and then you even have people running it on Virtual Mac. Actually, no, that's 0. Well, anyway, now we look at the processor is interesting because if you look at the processor vendor, Apple is already so dominant in its little own world that Intel is on the way out. Do you see now why Intel is afraid? Authentic AMD for the win? Authentic AMD doesn't even exist on Mac unless you're running a Hackintosh. I don't even know if you can build a Hackintosh with a Ryzen CPU. But just a few years ago, this was 100% Intel. Now, it's like the diehard Mac fanboys are so strong in their religious fervor toward Apple and the idolatry of the worshipfulness of Tim Cook and the legacy of Steve Jobs that just like that, since the pandemic, Apple has displaced Intel in the Mac Steam survey for 62% of the market. What was once 100% Intel has now gone majority Apple. This is mostly because of the M1. If we now look at the video cards on Apple, let's take a look at this. So you have the Apple M1 at 29%. Then you have M2, which is slowly going up. It's gaining on the M1. You have M1 Pro going up. M1 Max going up at a slower rate than those two. Then you still have Intel holding on, but it's in the red. You have M2 Pro coming in fast in the green. You have Iris going down. You have Iris Plus going down. Pro going down. All this stuff. Somebody snuck an AMD Radeon in here. 1.87% going up. M2 Max going upstairs. Look at these Intels going downstairs. Going down that flight of stairs. Going down that flight of stairs. I don't know what this is. This is one of those like Radeon things that go in the Mac desktop. Because if you buy a Mac desktop, if you spend like $5,000 or $6,000 or whatever it is in today's money, it's probably like, for all I care, it's probably like $7,000, $9,000 on a Mac. It's what? It's like you are narrating a F1 race. Wait, what? What? Going downstairs? Anyway, all of it's Radeon based, right? Like all those, whatever they call those things, those giant things that look like GPUs, but they're basically like server class hardware. That's basically what these things are. So, but you know, they're slowly going down because people are upgrading. But the thing is, you got to remember, those Mac desktops are really expensive. Like, we're talking big money. We're talking like used car levels of money. We're talking about automobile money when we're talking about buying like Mac desktops here. So That's the reason why the rate of change of these Radeon Pros slowly going down is very slow, because typically if someone buys a Mac desktop, they're going to hold on to that thing for like 5 years. And Apple doesn't refresh their desktop line that often. They might have like some hardware revisions every 2 years or whatever, but in general, they don't do a complete like generational uplift, at least for like 4 years or if not more. I'd have to go back and look. But, you know, we've got some of this Radeon stuff in here. Then you have all these Intel, like, integrated graphics. So, but they're all kind of going down. But the thing is, you've got this one. I don't know why this is going up slightly. But, I mean, there's, like, a change there. You got this going up. I don't know why. And then this going down. Like, in general, I would expect all these Intel and Radeon stuff to kind of go up, and some AMD ones that are newer to go... No, they should go down, and the newer Radeons should go up. So, yeah, you got some Hackintosh stuff right here. You got like a Pro. Well, that's never mind. That's a Pro. I don't know what this is. Like, what is this? 6770M, but it's like an HD. So it's like super old. And then you've got like somebody running a Vega. So that's the Apple world. It is very very disheartening for Intel, because Apple is basically slowly killing Intel, or slowly driving Intel out of their territory. You know, it's almost like it's almost like Apple's like, you know, you guys gotta move and get off our land and go like live somewhere else. You know, like get these Intel stuff out of here and go somewhere else, because this is Apple world. You don't belong here anymore. You know, it's the land of the M1, and I guess the Radeon guys, because there are bros, because we hate Nvidia. You know, like that's basically Apple in a nutshell. So it kind of puts things into perspective. So the reason why I brought this up is because, again, like it's not like I'm trying to defend Nvidia of all things. It's not like I'm trying to defend Nvidia when I say that I don't think that Nvidia's driver is pinging the Steam survey, because if you look at in particular Linux, now obviously Nvidia doesn't really exist in the Apple planet. I mean, there was one Nvidia, right? Didn't we see an Nvidia somewhere? Like somebody snuck in? Wasn't there some? No, I guess never mind. There's no Nvidia. Okay, well, no Nvidia at all in the world of Apple. But if we go back to Linux, you know, it kind of paints a different picture for Nvidia. So that's why I don't think there's any kind of weird funny business going on with the driver pinging the server. I don't really believe that. Okay, so what was the other thing that we were going to talk about here? Or are we pretty much done? I guess we're coming up on the end here. There is a new... Did I talk about this? I think I may have talked about that last time. Pre-orders are open now for the USB 3 10 gig based 4K 60 capture card that supports HDMI 2.1. So that's kind of cool. I've been waiting for this for a while. I don't know if I'm going to get one of these, though. I'm going to probably wait for a review. Unless Avermedia wants to send me a review sample that I have to send back to them, I'll be more than happy to review this in depth. But I'm kind of on the fence about this. This will make it easier for me to run the 4K 60 externally, and that will free up my internal card so I can actually run dual GPUs. If I get this, I'll be able to take my Intel A770 or A750 and install it in my PC and use it as a, I guess, a quick sync encoder for my Ryzen computer. I mean, I guess. We'll see. I might play around with stuff like that in a future video. But that's kind of why I would use something like this. Hackintosh with an Nvidia card is like using a PC without GPU drivers installed. Really? Oh, okay. That's living life on the edge. Well, was there anything else I was going to say about this? Oh, like, okay, let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at this Nvidia quarterly revenue, and this will probably be the last story. How much is this again? Oh, it was $300. $300. If you pre-order it, you get $25 off. So it's basically as much as an Xbox Series S. Or a Nintendo Switch. Aren't Nintendo Switches still this much money? Or are they cheaper now? Something like that. It's like buying a Switch. Or something. Or like a console. Isn't it like a console? Yeah, it's like a console. It's like an Xbox Series S. But the nice thing about it is it supports... it's USB 3. But I want to see how the latency is on this thing. Because I'm a little bit skeptical of USB 3 for 4K 60. Because of the bandwidth. Because of latency. I prefer internal capture cards because they have the lowest latency. But if they're not going to be external, or if they're not going to be internal, then they need to use a lot of bandwidth, which means they need to be Thunderbolt based. Why capture cards are so expensive? Well, they're not really that expensive if you only need a 1080p capture card. This is expensive because this is a 4K 144 Hz VRR HDR capable capture card. See, that's the reason why it's expensive. It's expensive because it supports capturing HDR, which requires more bandwidth because HDR is, the color depth on HDR is much higher. So the amount of data that has to go through the capture card to record that needs more processing power, and that's the reason why this is more expensive. Because the ASIC in here is higher end than the one that was in like the $100 capture card. So that's the reason why. That, and it supports HDMI 2.1, so you can capture the full, or I guess you can use pass-through for the full 4K 144 Hz. So it's really good with like consoles, and also like if you're doing like a dual PC stream setup, like that's kind of what this would be used for. Okay, if we look at, I think this is the last article. Did I cover all the other things I want to talk about? So we covered Avermedia, major game releases. Well, we don't really talk about that. We know Starfield's coming. We know that Lies of P and The Lords of the Fallen and Alan Wake 2 and Assassin's Creed and Spider-Man 2 are all coming out within the next 90... No, actually, is it 90 days? No, I think it's less than that. I think it's like in the next 60 or 70 days. We're getting... Yeah. We're getting... within the next 2 months, we're getting a lot of highly anticipated games. But anyway, so the last article here that we're going to talk about is Nvidia's quarterly revenue trend. Is if you look at their gaming, so the second row in particular, we can see a year ago they're doing Q2. Okay, I guess this is by calendar year. I don't think this is by fiscal year. I don't know when Nvidia's fiscal year ends. But if we look at this, gaming revenue is down. So it was up a year ago. It went up even higher in Q4 of last year. Then it peaked in Q1 of FY23. That was because of the highly acclaimed, highly desired RTX 4070 Ti. That was its peak. And then it declined by a lot, like a whole lot. And then it declined to its rock bottom, which was wait a minute, hold on a second. Why is it? Okay, hold on a second. They're going by their fiscal year. Yeah, this is fiscal year, FY24, FY23. So this is not calendar year. Okay, so let me redo this whole thing. So essentially, FY24 is now, or the last 3 months. Oh no, Q2 of FY24 was the last 3 months, so they started FY24 really early. Okay, so this was hold on. So this was July, June, May, April, March, February, January, December, November. Huh? Okay, that kind of makes sense, I guess. So Nvidia's worst quarter was like right before the RTX 4090 launched. It was like the when would that have been? That would have been like September, August. Basically, that was like a year ago then. Yeah, because these are like 3 months each. So yeah, so basically, what this shows is that when Nvidia's gaming market was so high up there in the what is this, in million? Yeah, this is in millions? Is this millions? Is this billions? Yes, this is okay. Okay, I get it. So this is in yeah, this is in millions. So if you want to count this, this is $3.2 billion, $3.4 billion, 3.6, is that correct? Yes, okay, $3.6 billion. Man, these guys make a lot of money on GPUs. Okay, so crypto was making them 3.6, 3.4, 3.2. Then crypto crashed sometime in the middle of their Q2 FY23. So you can see that massive nosedive from $3.6 billion to $2 billion. Then it further declined to $1.5 billion. Then the 4090 launched, so it went up. There was increased interest in their product lines in Q4 of 2023, so it went up. Then they started FY24, and Ada started launching. So you got 4080, you got 4070 Ti. So they went up. Then they went up again. So they started normalizing, but they're still nowhere near close to the levels that they were during the crypto dark times. John Travolta meme moment. There's another Lord of the Rings game coming in October. Really, what's the Lord of the Rings game? There's an Assassin's Creed game, but which I'm forgetting when that's coming out. Somewhere in there too. Okay, well anyway, that's so you guys can see their gaming division. But here's the thing that makes all this. This is the reason why this doesn't matter to them that much. Because look at the top row. Look at the top row. The data center business. Look at where it was for them a year ago. 2.9 billion. Then 3.2 billion. Then 3.7 billion. 3.8 billion. 3.8 billion. 3.6 billion. So it actually went down here. Then it went from 3.6 to 4.2. Then, literally in one quarter alone, it went from 4.2 billion to $10.3 billion in their data center. This is the reason why people are afraid. Some gamers who pay attention to finance stuff like this are afraid that Nvidia will, as they put it, abandon the gamers. And go all in on high margin, enterprise, business to business, data center sales, AI workloads, Grace Hopper this, Grace Hopper that, Ada RTX, not GeForce RTX. So this is why everyone's afraid of that happening. I thought gaming would be higher considering the Switch success. No. No. Not in 2023. The Switch has already reached market saturation. We're talking about sales in a 3-month interval. Is this a projected chart since right now we are in Q? No. This is their revenue trend. This is not... Okay, you guys are thinking of calendar year. If it was calendar year, it would say CY23, CY22. But because it's saying FY24, FY23 means fiscal year. This has nothing to do with the calendar year. I got confused at the very beginning when I first started reading this chart. That's why I had to back it up and like redo everything I said. But yeah, this is the fiscal year. It has nothing to do with the calendar year. So no, these are their current numbers. This is the revenue by the market. It even says it right here. Yes, no, these are their real numbers. They literally posted $10.3 billion in data center revenue in their second quarter of their fiscal year 24. That is insane. Look at the difference. Even though the gaming revenue is about $1 billion lower than it was a year ago, the people at Nvidia don't even care. Because look at the difference in their total revenue. Look at how... Do you guys see this? Like, their data center revenue is more than all of their other business units combined. $10.3 billion in 3 months. This makes Genshin Impact, MiHoYo's revenue, the HoYoverse company, the gaming company in China, this makes them look like they're poor people by comparison. Because these guys are doing... Now, I know those guys make a lot of money. They make in the millions in a quarter. These guys are making in the billions. These are making billions. so it's like, no. So look at that. Auto, that's like the self-driving cars stuff. And then professional visualization. So the professional visualization is stuff like digital signage. It could be the Ada workstation graphics cards, but not the data center variant. So these would be like the... well, actually, you know what? I don't know about that. Maybe data center is the professional graphics cards. It'd be interesting to see a breakdown of this. I kind of think professional visualization is like a professional RTX graphics card. You know, like a $6,000 Ada, what is it? Ada 6000, RTX 6000 or something like that. So that's only this much. So in a way, if this is true, if what I said is true, it means that Nvidia will probably not abandon gaming because they make way more money from gaming than they do from professional visualization. So the only thing that they're really like selling a lot of is the data center and the gaming, but really the data center by a wide margin, by a significant gap. So that kind of points to Nvidia being really, really strong in not only their hardware design and their architecture design, but their software ecosystem for AI and professional applications. So I think that's the reason why they're very, very strong. So are these Nvidia chips made in Taiwan? Yes. Everything that you see on this list, every single thing, all this money came from chips made in TSMC in Taiwan. All of it. So you can see now why competitors like AMD, like Jim Keller's startup company, and all these other startup companies in China, in particular the ones in China, but also Intel and AMD and some other ones. And like Roger Kodori, I think he started some kind of AI startup company too. I don't know what he's going to do, but you know, like those guys, they all want a piece of this pie because right now you have Nvidia literally like found a gold mine, and they have it all to themselves for now, at least. Like not all to themselves, because there are alternatives, but realistically, the alternatives are very off the beaten path. You have to really, really search for them, and you have to develop all the things in house. So like there's a guy who used to work for Twitter. I'm trying to remember his name. George. I know his first name's George. I forget the last name. I think George Hotz or Hotz. George Hotz is a guy who he used to work for Twitter. He's very well outspoken. He's an extremely good, talented computer programmer, computer scientist. But he recently quit Twitter to go off, and I think he's starting like another AI company. I mean, I've lost count at this point, because there are so many of these AI startups that are just cropping up out of nowhere, because, you know, they're looking at this and they're like, hold on now. Someone discovered a whole new, like, thing. There's, like, all this stuff. So, it all started with ChatGPT. Even before ChatGPT, it was a bunch of, like, machine learning things that kind of took off. And, yeah, now it's the new thing that everybody's chasing. So, it remains to be seen, like, who will be first to market with a product that is, like, the new Facebook or the new Twitch or the new YouTube. But in this case, it'll be a different kind of application and use case and all this other stuff. So interesting times, because we're now kind of on this forefront of a massive change in technology. So with that being said, I don't really have anything else to say. I just kind of ran out of steam. I think that was it. Let's see. Oh, actually, I guess we can go through these notes. So, the Nvidia's CFO, or the chief financial officer, said, moving to gaming revenue of $2.49 billion was up 11% sequentially and 22% year on year. So basically, they're coming out of that crypto, like the big like drop for them. Growth was fueled by GeForce RTX 40 series GPUs for laptops and desktop. End customer demand was solid and consistent with seasonality. So what this means is that all the reviewers who said go buy a 30 series, don't buy 40 series, just don't do it. Go buy a 3060. Don't buy a 4060. Don't buy a 4060 Ti. Go buy a 3060 Ti. All the reviewers that said to do that, the public largely ignored them. Just saying. Like, they pretty much ignored them. Now, some people did what they said, but according to this, they didn't listen. They went and bought 40 series. So we believe global end demand has returned to growth after last year's slowdown. And I have seen that in Micro Center. I've observed that. We have a large upgrade opportunity ahead of us. Just 47% of the install base have upgraded to RTX, and about 20% of the GPU with an RTX 3060 or higher. So I don't know how... Okay, they're talking about their install base. This is not the total market. But what this means is that 47% are on an RTX GPU. That means that more than half are on a older GTX GPU. So that means there's still a lot of people on 10 series, guys. And older. Like 980, 970, 960. Sad, since next generation Nvidia. Yeah, and they have no incentive really to change the way things are, because enough people are buying their stuff. And you know what, like, they can afford to do less in gaming because they're already making up for it. Well, they're compensating for it by a lot in the data center. See. Personally, I can't wait for all 4070 Ti owners. Well, I mean, I think they're already thinking about that, but it's like if you're thinking about that, why'd you go and buy it? You know, that's my response. So, Nvidia also shared that the gaming market has a large business opportunity, but okay, they already basically just repeated her, and then she said, okay, this is the thing that is interesting. Laptop GPUs posted strong growth in the key back-to-school season. Okay, here is the key point, because what she is saying is exactly what I have been saying they're doing. Like, this is how they're selling 4060 and 4060 Ti. So, laptop, not desktop, laptop GPUs posted strong growth in key back-to-school season led by RTX 4060. So guess what? We already know the next most popular GPU on Steam. It's going to be the 4060. No matter what Gamers Nexus says, no matter what Hardware Unbox recommends that people do based off of their testing and benchmarking 50 games and all this stuff, no matter what they say, no matter what LTT says, although we're not going to go there, no matter what all these other reviewers say, no matter what I say, nobody cares. They're going to go buy 4060. We could say all we want about, oh, don't get it, it's bad value, it has, like, it doesn't have enough VRAM, it's not good, even the 3060 12 gigs better. You know what people are going to do? They're going to go buy 4060, they don't care. You're like, in one ear, out the other ear, I don't care. I don't care what you tell me, I'm just going to go buy my 4060. See? So, that's what they're going to do. Nvidia's GPU-powered laptops have gained in popularity, and their shipments are now outpacing desktop GPUs from several regions around the world. This is likely to shift the reality of our overall gaming revenue a bit, with Q2 and Q3 as the stronger quarters of the year, reflecting the back-to-school and holiday build schedules for laptops. Yeah, I always said, if you are considering a laptop, you want to buy a laptop during the holiday season. Do not buy a laptop in the first half of the year. That is the worst time to buy a laptop unless you like buying last generation hardware. Because laptop refreshes usually launch in Q2, so like April, May, June, but they only really hit their stride in terms of mass market volume in Q3 and Q4. That's the reason why if someone's going to buy a laptop, I always recommend that you wait until the second half of the year, because you will have much more options and you'll have way better options that will have better firmware. Because if you want to buy the next generation, you don't want to be the beta tester back in like April or May when Asus or somebody launched their gaming laptop and it's got like all these firmware issues with cooling, fan profiles, and all this other stuff. So, yeah, that's why you wait for the second half of the year. And it's in line with what they're seeing. So in desktop, we launched GeForce 4060 and 4060 Ti GPUs, bringing the Ada Lovelace architecture down to price points as low as $299. The ecosystem for RTX and DLSS games continue to expand. 35 new games added to DLSS, including blockbusters such as Diablo 4 and Baldur's Gate 3. Both games might be on the candidate list for Game of the Year. There's now over 330 RTX accelerated games and apps. We are bringing generative AI to gaming. At Computex, we announced Nvidia Avatar Cloud Engine, or ACE for games, a custom AI model foundry service. Okay, whatever that is. Developers can use this service. Okay, this is something in the Omniverse stuff. Okay, yeah. I remember this stuff. So, bring intelligence. So, developers can use this service to bring intelligence to non-player characters. So, now Nvidia is kind of taking a turn back to what they were doing in like 7-8 years ago, where they're starting to not only are they trying to sell their features to consumers, they're now trying to sell like feature sets to developers. So they're now taking it to the next level, because they know if they do this, they're essentially going to act like a partner or an advisor to gaming companies, so that the gaming companies will be like, hey, I want to do this in my game, how should I do it? And they'll obviously tell them, oh, well, you should do it, this, and well, we sell this product, it's, like Ace, you can implement Ace. It's a cloud, it's a SaaS solution, it's a software as a service hosted in the cloud from Nvidia. You can import this thing, and you can make your NPCs behave more realistically using this this new feature, this Avatar Cloud Engine. So they're starting to like really crank out these business-to-business sales type features to developers. So that's very interesting, because that's going to grow their revenue outside of gaming, even though the purpose of it is gaming. So just keep that in mind. Interesting stuff. And it harnesses a number of NVIDIA Omniverse and AI technologies, including Nemo, Riva, and audio to face. So very interesting stuff. NVIDIA highlights this new software, blah, blah, blah. Segments such as DLSS 3.5 and Ace, which can be key. I don't really know what DLSS 3.5 is. I think there was an article here. Yeah, DLSS 3.5. Ray reconstruction technology works on GeForce 20 and newer. So wait a minute. DLSS 3.5 works on a 2080, but DLSS 3 frame generation does not? Okay. That's interesting. Okay. So, yeah. I guess... how does this work? So they're doing denoisers. Oh, okay. Okay, I see. So it's basically some kind of upscaling. It's upscaling for RT effects. Okay. That's interesting. So, cool. Okay. But somehow that's supposed to work on... Oh, okay, because it's not frame generation. I really think Nvidia needs to change the way they name some of this stuff. Because this is very confusing. Why would they call it DLSS 3.5 when it's not a frame? Because in my mind, DLSS 3 is synonymous with frame generation, if that makes sense. So it's like, why call this DLSS 3.5? They should just call it something else. I don't know. Or they need to really like... They really should not have named frame generation DLSS 3. Because that's not really... Frame generation is not super sampling. Essentially, what it is it's frame interpolation is what it is. Which is different from super sampling. So, I don't know. I don't really like their naming convention with DLSS anymore, because this 3.5 thing is so confusing. It replaces the denoiser in the traditional RT render pipeline with machine learning. Okay, I mean, yeah, I get how it works. It's just like, I don't really know why they're calling it 3.5. Like, they need to start making different names for this, because this is like, these are like numbered updates to a super sampling, but this is not really, like, this is like the RT pipeline. Like, it's so weird. So what is this? What does it show? Like, what's the effect? So if it's off, you're at 20 FPS. DLSS 2. What's SR? What is SR? What does SR stand for? Ray? No. Super Ray? What? I don't understand what this means. Well, hold on. Ray construction. No, I don't know what that means. Yeah, I don't know what this is. SR. I'm guessing this is just DLSS 2. I don't know what SR is. Super resolution. and then super resolution plus frame generation, and then 3.5 is super resolution plus frame generation plus ray reconstruction. DLSS 4 will be special glasses that enhances your vision. Does it mean you can see as good as a bird? You'll have bird's eyes? Because birds can see way better than humans. You know how humans can see like 20/20 on normal eyes that don't need corrective lenses? Birds can see more like 25 or like 23 or something. Meaning something that is 20 feet away from a bird is as clear and sharp as though it were only like 5 feet away. That's like way better than human vision. That's like way better than human vision. Can you imagine? So maybe that's DLSS 4. That literally just means that they turn off screen space ambient occlusion. You turn SSAO off, and it literally like just does that. What you just said. It doesn't blur the background, so it's as if it was all like the same distance from you. Interesting stuff, but see, like, this is the sort of thing where it shows the kind of that software lead that Nvidia has over the competition, in the sense that they've got all this other stuff with the deep learning. This is the reason why AMD really needs some kind of hardware-based tensor, or at the very least, they need some kind of RT cores, like dedicated RT cores. But I don't know what they're going to do about like the tensor cores things. To me, it sounds like, if not RDNA 4, RDNA 5 is going to have to address both of these things. RDNA 4 might address like one of these things, but not the other. So yeah, like this is something that it's easy for Nvidia to do because they have established this ecosystem. They've got this giant web, that like a spider's web that they have, and it's like they can throw stuff at the wall and see what sticks, by basically make all these features, throw them out there and see if they stick. And they are focusing in the areas where I think they need to focus. Whereas I think AMD, a lot of AMD's new features are things that are not necessarily focused on the render pipeline. They're more stuff like controlling your... they've got stuff like controlling your GPU remotely or something. They've got like something in the Radeon settings that does... It's like AMD Link or something like that. You can like remote stream your game to some other device, which is an interesting idea, because it's funny because Sony's doing that now with that new PlayStation Portal that they're going to launch. So it's like AMD's focusing on stuff that you would think like makes sense for like consoles and flexibility and mobility. Nvidia's focused more on like this kind of stuff. The Hyper RX feature or something. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. Like, AMD's features are always focused on... They look at it from, like, a hardware lens. Like, they're attacking it like a hardware lens. Like, where do we innovate? Like, figuring out what we can do with the hardware. Regardless of whether it ends up being a gimmick that no one uses, or if it's something that actually ends up being beneficial. Like, I'll give you guys an example. Like, the resizable bar. Like, Smart Access Memory was first... So, and then AMD popularized that, and now it's like everybody uses it, right? Like even Intel's GPUs actually kind of are very dependent on it. So that's something that AMD did, but that's more of like a hardware thing, because it's the driver talks to the hardware. You have to have that toggle in the motherboard BIOS. See what I'm saying? It's always like a hardware-centric type thing, whereas NVIDIA's innovation and their features are more focused on the software side. Like, how can we improve the performance in alternative ways other than just making a more powerful chip? You know what I mean? Like frame generation, that kind of stuff. Leveraging machine learning to do things like 3.5, this ray reconstruction feature. So it's interesting how they both do. It's not like one is innovating and the other is not. They're doing it in different ways, and I feel like ultimately, because of where graphics cards sit in terms of their purpose, Nvidia has an advantage from a feature standpoint because they're making things that seem more directly beneficial to the end user, whereas AMD's things are more like it's nice to be able to stream your games to a remote device, but it's not going to be the same experience as playing it natively on the actual desktop PC. Like the host machine itself is always going to be superior to some remote controlled device or some, like some viewport into your PC. So it's one of those things where it's like it's good that both innovate in these different ways, but it's like I wish that one of them. I feel like if AMD had all the things that Nvidia had, they'd be in a better spot. If Nvidia tried to go back and add all the things that AMD had, I think it would be harder for them to do because it's questionable whether those features really benefit the users. So Nvidia features are more of a decisive buying point when AMD features are more of a gimmick. I guess you could put it that way. It kind of depends because I would say ray tracing a few years ago was a gimmick. Like ray tracing, do you guys remember ray tracing on the 20 series was actually bad. So it was kind of a gimmick. I remember the Battlefield, was it Battlefield 1? I think it was Battlefield 1. Ray tracing on Battlefield 1 with an RTX 2080 Ti was like what? Sub 60 FPS at 1080p. It was like 35 FPS at 1080p or something. So it was really bad. So the point is, like, over time, Nvidia's features are growing into an actual useful thing. Whereas AMD's ones, like you make this feature and then you're kind of done. Now you need to do something else. So, yeah, we'll see what happens tomorrow, though, if FSR 3 gets announced. Because I really think that the frame generation stuff is very, very interesting. I actually think let's put it this way. I am more impressed with frame generation than I am with upscaling technology. It's interesting, like using frame interpolation. It's very surprising that no one ever bothered to do this before. But we'll see if FSR 3 decides to show up tomorrow. But at the very least, we're going to see like 2 new graphics cards get announced. So anyway, guys, that's probably going to be it for this stream. We took a look at Armored Core 6. I'll probably play more of that when I can. And we might do another stream with that. Unless I have early access to Starfield. Now, if I can't stream Starfield until it's publicly available to everybody, then I'll probably stream more Armored Core. But the next stream will be Thursday. I don't think I'm going to be doing a weekend stream this week. Yeah, you missed the Armored Core gameplay. It wasn't really like a whole lot. It was just basically me running through the tutorial mission and dying to a boss probably like 3 times, and I finally got it like the 4th try or something. So anyway, you didn't really miss a whole lot, but it's a really nice game. It's a fun game. So I'm definitely going to be playing more of that. So anyway, that's going to be it for this stream. The next stream will be a week from today. There will not be a Saturday stream or a Friday stream. I have too many other things I need to do. So I can't do a stream. But I will be back next Thursday. I don't know if I will start the same time, though. I might start later, or I might have to move it to Friday. It kind of depends. So that's going to be it for this stream. Once again, thanks everybody for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thanks.